Everyone. It is Tuesday, September 19th, and it's time for another Please Welcome. Welcome. Heroic Productions series of in-person virtual events where we explore people and topics of interest to a wide audience of meetings and events professionals. Heroic Productions is a corporate event production company. We've been helping our clients execute world-class meetings, events, conferences, shows for the past 20 plus years, and we are true event production professionals. You may be familiar with Please Welcome. We launched this series in August of 2022. Many have been here in studio to our in-person events. And then many of you just tune in to our virtual installments, which we are happy to be sharing with you today. We are live on LinkedIn. We're live on Facebook. I think I'm pushing this to my YouTube channel. So you can pick this up in a lot of different places. And of course, you can always go back and watch previous episodes as well. All right, so in honor of September being Children's Cancer Awareness Month, we are really excited to welcome Sarah Kier to the Please Welcome stage with us today. Sarah is the Events and Engagement Manager at Children's Cancer Research Fund, which is headquartered right here in Minneapolis. So Sarah, welcome to you. McKenna is going to bring you on. There you are. How are you?
There I am. Hi, Kitty. It's good to see you today.
Really good to see you too. I'm excited about having this conversation with you. It's always fun to chat.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Thank you for giving us this platform. Like you said, September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. So it's a very important month for us at CCRF. So I'm excited to be able to share that with a wider audience.
Wonderful. Good. And I know you're busy all the time, and I would expect that this month it's just a little bit more, right?
Exactly. There is so much going on every year throughout September. I actually started at CCRF in September of 2017. And I remember my first few weeks kind of looking around like, is it always this busy? Like, what have I gotten myself into? I learned, eventually that September just happens to be extra crazy. But yeah, lots of exciting stuff going on.
Yeah, good. Okay. Your audio just dipped just a little bit at the end
Okay.
of, so
How
hopefully.
about now?
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Good.
I'm testing. I told Kitty I'm testing out a new microphone setup today with the AirPods. So we'll see how
Yeah.
they go. Keep me posted if they become
Okay.
shaky at all.
Okay, great. Good. And as we get started here also, and I think that McKenna has dropped into the chat, for those of you who are tuning in, let us know that you're here. Again, we are streaming this to multiple channels. So wherever you happen to be catching this, please say hello. Let us know that you're here. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And if you have any questions for Sarah, please pop those into chat and we will try to get those in front of her for part of the conversation. So we have been referencing here CCRF, Children's Cancer Research Fund. Tell us a little bit about CCRF.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like you said, we affectionately call it CCRF because Children's Cancer Research Fund can be a mouthful. So you'll
Yeah.
hear me refer to as CCRF often. But we are, like you said in the beginning, a national nonprofit organization, but we are based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Our main focus, the reason that we exist, is to support the research of really smart scientists across the country whose ideas are making an impact for kids with cancer. So they are the ideas that are creating better, safer treatments for kids with cancer. And childhood cancer is a really big problem. So we have chosen to really dedicate our efforts and our funding into three key areas. The first is hard to treat. So specifically looking at cancers where survival rates remain low or haven't improved in decades. We also fund research into survivorship care for childhood cancer patients. There is actually over 15 million childhood cancer survivors in the US. And we have found that due to the harsh nature of their treatments when they were treated for cancer, many of them, 99% of them, deal with long term effects as a result of their treatments. So that can range from memory loss, learning disabilities, stunted growth, secondary cancers, infertility. the list goes on and on. So we are very invested in survivorship care and making sure that childhood cancer patients are cared for over the length of their entire life, not just when that cancer treatment ends. And then the third area is health disparities. So research shows that children from racial and ethnic minority groups are less likely to survive certain cancers. But unfortunately, we don't know why that is. So CCRF has committed to funding research that identifies the root cause of those disparities and then eventually builds interventions to eliminate them.
Okay.
We've existed since 1981, and since then we have contributed over $200 million to research and support programs.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
it's pretty cool.
incredible.
Yeah, I'm very lucky.
Right. How great to be able to wake up every morning and know that that is what you're going to go do in the day.
Exactly. It's very easy to be motivated and to
Mhm.
yeah feel like this work is very meaningful. We don't take it lightly. We yeah, it's very important to us.
Yeah. Okay. So across the organization, there are obviously so many different roles and responsibilities.
Mhm.
Um, you are events and engagement manager. So
Right.
tell us what that means. What is a day in the life of you as events and engagement manager?
hmm Good question. So like exactly like you described, there's a lot of ways to engage with CCRF, whether it's through financial support, volunteering. Corporations can sponsor CCRF through events or other programs. And really, my job is to manage all of those different ways that people can engage with, get involved with CCRF. So I manage a small subset of those opportunities, including a couple virtual events, two of which happen in September in honor of Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. One is a virtual walk event called the Walk for Childhood Cancer Research, and the other is a virtual cycling event called Great Cycle Challenge. And then I also manage our in person annual gala, which is called Dream, which will be celebrating its, I think, 42nd anniversary in 2024. So I kind of have my hands in a couple of different engagement opportunities, both virtual and in person. But my role is really focused on relationship management. So supporting our fundraisers, the folks who sign up to participate in the walk and participate in Great Cycle Challenge. I make sure they have everything they need to succeed and to fundraise on behalf of CCRF. And then on the dream side of things, I'm managing all of our vendor relationships, the donors that come to the event, and much, much more. But my role is truly focused on engagement and making sure that people who want to get involved with CCRF have the resources they need and feel supported along the way.
Okay. What does your team look like?
So on the engagement team specifically, we have 6 members. And like I said, because we have so many opportunities to engage with CCRF, we're all kind of focused on different areas. So, for example, we have one gentleman on our team who specifically focuses on streaming, fundraising, and streaming for CCRF. That's a really big subset of our fundraisers, is people who choose to stream different games, crafts, you
Mm,
name it. I'm not in that world, but
mm,
it's a really big community. We have folks who are focused specifically on what's called our DIY fundraisers. So they're the people who choose to set up their own bake sale, their own 5K run, their own kickball tournament, all of which benefit CCRF. So people managing those fundraisers. And then, like I said, some in-person events like Dream, and we also have a golf tournament that happens over the summer. So we're all kind of managing different areas of engagement
mhm.
in different ways.
Okay. Wonderful. I'm intrigued by those virtual events.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, when I say virtual walk and virtual cycling event, a lot of people kind of cock their head like, how does that work? How do you have a virtual walk?
Yeah, tell me
Um,
more.
a very fair question. I get it a lot. So the walk specifically was a result of the pandemic. It did not always occur online, but since the
Okay.
pandemic, we have moved it to an online platform where participants are able to log their steps, log their miles, and it moves them along a virtual course. And as they move along the virtual course, they unlock what's called milestones. So once they reach 10 miles, let's say, it unlocks a video from a childhood cancer family saying, "Thank you so much for your support. Let's keep
Ah,
going." And then at
fun.
another 10 miles, they unlock another milestone. So it's really interactive, and we try to make it really mission focused.
Mhm.
Um, and then the virtual cycling event is very similar. Folks are signing up, they're logging their miles on the GCC app. And then all throughout the way, they are asking their friends and family to support them as they log those miles. And both events have been really, really popular. As you guys know, with virtual events, the beauty is that anybody from anywhere can now
Mhm.
participate versus when the walk was in person here in St. Paul, we were
Mhm.
very limited to the audience. So now we get participants from all over the country, people who just want to make the most of the walks that they're already taking around the block.
Yeah. Do you think that the physical component of those events will come back and you'll keep a virtual?
That's a good
It's
question.
yeah.
I
Because so
don't know.
in general, when we have this conversation with our clients and
Hmm.
others in the event industry, once in person was back, it's back
Hmm.
in a big way, right? Like
Yeah.
when you guys were ready to do Dream again, we're like, all right, we're back.
Yeah.
Um, and and so virtual really took a back seat. I've always expected that virtual will kind of creep back in again as
Hmm.
an additional component to a physical
Mm,
experience. So
yeah.
it's interesting to me to hear that the physical of that particular event hasn't come back.
Yeah, yeah, that is a very fair question. The cycling event in particular, Great Cycle Challenge, has actually always been virtual. So thankfully, we didn't have to make any big changes to that
Mhm.
program in 2020. The walk specifically, the it's so hard to beat the accessibility that the virtual format allows.
Yeah.
I love that we can have people from all over the country joining in on the event. And again,
Mhm.
obviously, that's something we couldn't manage before.
Yeah.
So I love that it gives um, our mission a bigger platform,
Mhm.
so it's going to be hard to convince me otherwise. And
Yeah.
thankfully, a lot of our really passionate teams still choose to get together in person. Just
Mhm.
this past weekend, one of our longtime teams, I think they've truly been with the event since the beginning, um, had a team gathering at, I think, Lake Phelan in right here in St. Paul. So some of our teams still choose to kind of create their own
Yeah.
pseudo team event in person. But I think the virtual platform is here to stay for the long
Yeah.
run.
Yeah. Wonderful. And you're right. I think the main benefit is that it makes the audience that much bigger and
Exactly.
and more inclusive. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So
Hmm.
again, a lot of the people that are tuning in with us today, and just in general, and consuming this content, please welcome content. These are meeting and event professionals, so we're always wanting to share. What are other people in the industry doing?
Hmm.
What do these titles mean? What do people need to know about your work, about this work
Hmm.
that you do at CCRF in the role that
Yeah.
you're in?
Yeah. I would say I think of myself, I always say I really think of myself as a fundraiser first and an event planner second.
Okay.
I came to CCRF because I am really passionate about nonprofit work. I wanted work that was very mission forward. And for me, my natural skills just also happened to be a good match for event planning.
Mhm.
So for me, event planning is kind of the segue into the fundraising, which is the thing I'm really excited about. And one thing I wanted to share too, to kind of color in a little bit more about childhood cancer, because I know, like you said, people are joining in from all kinds of industries, and I certainly didn't know a lot of this before joining CCRF. Childhood cancer is the leading cause of death by disease for kids in the United States. So it's a really big problem with a lot of opportunity for improvement.
Mhm.
Um, in fact, I think a lot of people, I always like to share this stat because a lot of people are surprised to hear that of all of the funds that come from the federal government for cancer research, less than 10% is specifically allocated for childhood cancer. It's in
Wow.
the single digits. It's much less than 10, but I say less than 10. It's in the
Huh.
single digits.
Yeah.
So it's really not an exaggeration to say that new, better, safer treatments for childhood cancer are really always going to start with private philanthropic support
Mhm.
through organizations like CCRF. So the fundraising we do is so critical for moving that needle because that the big funding sources just don't exist elsewhere.
Mhm.
So that's why we do what we do, and that's why I'm so passionate about event planning, event stewardship, because it allows us to raise money that's really going to make the difference that's needed for childhood cancer treatments.
Yeah. So I love what you said. Sarah, you are a fundraiser first,
Hmm.
you're an event professional second. It's
Hmm.
the events become the vehicle to make that happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
So we got to know you quite well earlier in the year
Hmm.
because we got to partner with you on Dream,
Yeah.
which was a wonderful night.
Hmm.
Uh, Absolutely wonderful. Tell us a little bit
It
about
was.
Dream.
Yeah, it really was. Dream is really special to our organization. It's actually how CCRF as an organization started. So I always like to share this story. It's really special. In 1979, there was a teen here in the Twin Cities named Katie Hedgebeck who died after a battle with leukemia. But before Katie died, she asked that the money she had been saving for a new bike be donated to what was then a small fund at the University of Minnesota called Children's Cancer Research Fund. So her parents did that, and then they decided they wanted to do more and be able to donate even more to that fund. So they decided to organize the first benefit gala that raised $50,000 in its first year in 1981, which was a huge amount of money in 1981.
Yeah.
And the event continued to grow year over year, eventually requiring full time staff members. And the organization has now grown to what it is today. Like I said, a national organization. We have think we're pushing 45, if we're not over 45 staff members. But really, the organization as a whole started with this singular event that continues today. So it's very special to us. It's very steeped in tradition. A lot of um, those folks, those donors, still come to this day. The people that were there in 1981 still attend to this day. So it's important to them too.
Yeah.
So Dream is very special to us. Like you said, 2023 was a really fun event. It really has a special place in my heart. I think
Mhm.
some events, hopefully people on this call or who are watching later can relate. And I'm not going to look silly, but some events you're okay saying goodbye to. You're okay putting in the rear view mirror. But this
Yeah.
one, 2023, was really fun for me, and I was sad to see it end.
Mhm.
Um, it was our first year at a new venue, Quincy Hall in Northeast Minneapolis. It was in some ways like our first kind of really full year back since the pandemic. We had
Mhm.
had an event in 2022, but we still had some lingering restrictions around testing and around vaccination records and all those things. But this was the first year we felt like we were really back in full force since the pandemic, and it you could really feel that energy in the room. I think people were excited to be back. There was just a certain vibe in the room that I haven't felt since pre-pandemic. So
Yeah.
I was very happy to be back.
Yeah. Yeah. Quincy is such a beautiful venue.
Yeah, it is.
It really is.
Very versatile.
Yes.
Hmm.
Eric Perkins was your MC.
Yeah,
Uh,
he was great.
he was great and fabulous auctioneer.
Hmm.
So it was a wonderful evening, beautiful
Yeah.
dinner, live auction. all of that, and really impactful stories.
Yeah,
And that's it's those stories that needed to come out that evening,
exactly.
which can be hard to hear.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm really glad you said that because one of the things I should have shared, one of the things that we changed for 2023 is we really made a conscious decision early on in the planning process that we wanted Dream in 2023 to really scale back on the activations, the kind of clutter in the room, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
For many years past, Dream had resembled what most of us know as a fundraising gala with a silent auction, maybe a raffle, maybe a wine pull, some sort of game, live auction, paddle race, fun and need. There's so many opportunities usually on site at these events to participate, to give, which is wonderful, but it can create a lot of um, clutter. It's asking your audience to divide their attention in so many different ways when they walk in the room.
Yeah.
And we decided early on that we really wanted the mission to be at the forefront of every moment at that event, and we wanted to really scale back on those activations so that the mission, the stories could come through as clearly as possible, and that their focus could really be where we wanted it to be, which is on those stories.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, it's easy for over time, all of a sudden you've got too many things going on,
Hmm.
and you need to be able to see that and say, all right, let's pull some things back and streamline a
Right,
little bit for a little bit more focus.
right.
So this is an event that you do every year. It's a
Hmm.
very important event, obviously.
Hmm.
I and so you're always recreating this
Yeah,
event. I mean, there are certain traditions, as you noted.
right.
So as you begin to prepare for the next one, what's top of mind? Where do you start?
Yeah. Yeah, you said it best. It's for an annual event like Dream and for an event like Dream that has been around for so many years, it is important to keep it fresh and feeling new every year, so that attendees have a reason to come back the next year so that they're not feeling like they're just attending the same event year over year.
Mhm.
So for us, we typically start with identifying the research priority for the year. So in other words, we start with identifying where the money will actually go when the event is over. So for 2023 specifically, that was brain tumor research at the University of Minnesota. That was the area in which we felt like there was the greatest area of opportunity, the greatest potential in research at the moment. So that's what we decided for 2023. And from there, we typically identify a childhood cancer family to feature, their story to feature related to that disease type. So typically, it's a family near or close to the Twin Cities, who can share their story with that audience about their encounter, their experience with that specific disease type. Again, in 2023, that was brain tumors. And then once we have the research priority identified, we have the family confirmed. Those pieces really educate and flow into all of the other decisions we make, all of the other event branding and design choices, the core messaging for the program, the event experience, and the activations that we want to offer, like I talked about. But really having those mission pieces as our ground floor that we base everything else off of is very important to us, so
Mhm.
that, like I said, the mission is really at the core of the event experience from the beginning.
Yeah. So you are, how many people are typically in the room for Dream?
I would say average is like 450.
Hmm. Okay. So when you're thinking about, and this is maybe just a general question
Mhm,
with in regard to events in general,
mhm,
um, it's it's become harder and hard. It's become more challenging
mhm.
over the years to engage people.
Yeah.
I always say it's hard to surprise and delight people. Kind
Mm,
of like we've seen it all. And you go to a lot of galas and fundraisers, and you've got the step and repeat, and you've got
mhm,
you've got all of the sort of traditional things.
Yeah.
Um, what are some of the best ways to engage people in your opinion?
Mm,
And it doesn't even have to just be related to Dream or the work that you do at CCRF, even just what you've observed out in the world, because that's where we
mm,
can take inspiration and apply
yeah.
them to the events that we're doing.
Yeah, yeah, that's a very good question. I think specifically for Dream and specifically for CCRF, one of our strengths, one of the things we hold near and dear to the organization and to all of our events, is really authentic storytelling. So, like I said, we typically have a featured childhood cancer family share their story that evening, sometimes even come on stage and do a live appeal, which is very powerful. And childhood cancer stories can be really hard to hear. They can be really sad, heartbreaking stories.
Mhm.
They're not always like wrapped up with a beautiful bow on the end, um, but we pride ourselves in telling those stories as they are, as the family wants to tell them. And we've also found in turn, not only is it inspiring, it's motivating for our donors, but in turn, we have found that it's very healing for the families too to be able to tell
Yeah.
their story as they want, as is authentic and genuine to them. Beyond Dream, I think, again, going back to my role, one of the best ways to engage people is um, to give them the opportunities to engage as they see fit for them. So we have folks coming to us, coming to CCRF, from all over the country with all different income levels, with all different personal encounters with childhood cancer, if any encounters with childhood cancer, working for huge corporations, small businesses, everything in between. So we really pride ourselves on having a diverse menu of options so that no matter how somebody finds us, no matter what experience they're bringing to their engagement with CCRF, there's something for them. So whether
Mhm.
that is the virtual events that I mentioned, whether that is the big fancy gala like Dream, whether that's volunteering at an event like Dream, getting their company to sponsor an event, starting their own fundraiser. Like I said, we really pride ourselves in providing a wide variety of options so that no matter how somebody wants to engage, there's something for them.
Yeah, that's smart because each of those things requires a different amount of time.
Right.
Um, so,
Exactly.
yeah. Where do you and your team look for inspiration?
I mean, I would I would be remiss if I didn't say the families that we serve. I mean, that's
Yeah.
like I said, all of us on staff are really genuinely invested in this work. A lot of us, myself included, have had the opportunity to meet childhood cancer families over the years. And I just treasure those interactions so much. We just have really special families that we work with.
Mhm.
And it's not an exaggeration to say that they are truly at the center of our work every day. We
Yeah.
start every all staff meeting with what we call a mission moment, where we just kind of ground ourselves in a reminder of why we do what we do, why we're here, why this organization and our work is so vital to again moving the needle for childhood cancer treatments. We have so many folks on staff who are either parents of survivors, siblings, they are childhood cancer survivors themselves. So there's
Mhm.
just a lot of genuine investment in our culture here at CCRF, that makes it really easy to feel inspired every day.
Yeah.
And then I would also say personally, I am also endlessly inspired by what other great organizations are doing and how they're engaging their communities and their supporters. I
Mhm.
actually just got back last week from a conference in Nashville, specifically for event fundraisers like myself.
Okay.
And just, I walked away with so many creative ideas from folks all over the country who are doing amazing things and raising a
Mm,
lot of money
mm.
for important causes. And I just love hearing ideas about how other organizations are running their events and engaging their communities, because people are very creative.
Oh, wow. I bet that was great.
Yeah, it was very fun.
We
It was
should
a good
have you
conference.
would, do you like to write? We should have you write a guest blog for our newsletter.
I
That would
would love to. I have a whole notebook kitty of notes that, oh, it would be easy.
That would be wonderful. We would love that. That would be so relevant to so many.
Absolutely.
Um, and all right, so we'll talk about that here when we're done.
Okay.
That would be great.
Let's do it.
So other than writing a blog for us, what's next for you? What are you working on?
Oh gosh, so much. Like we talked about at the top, September is a very busy month here at CCRF. It's a very exciting month. There's a lot going on. So we're over halfway through September. So we're over halfway through our virtual walk, our virtual cycling event. So my days are really focused on supporting our very passionate fundraisers who are raising big money for CCRF through those events. So I'm interacting with those folks all day long.
Mm,
Part of my trip actually last week to Nashville was meeting with a group of GCC cyclists in the Nashville area. I got to attend a group ride, which was really fun.
mm,
And then, as you can imagine, it feels like Dream is already like around the corner. So we're already doing a lot of prep work for Dream,
mm,
um, brainstorming on some big goals that we want to achieve this year, and then simply rounding up our team of rockstar vendors who help us execute it. We could not do it without our partners like Heroic. So getting kind of our dream team, as we affectionately like to call it, on the roster,
yeah,
ready to rock another event is also forthcoming very shortly here.
yeah, wonderful. Very
Hmm.
exciting.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned it many times here. There are lots of ways for people to get
Hmm.
involved.
Yeah.
Any of those initiatives, there's room for people to jump in
Totally.
and help. Yeah,
Totally.
good.
Totally. I would follow CCRF on the socials. There's lots of content out right now about Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. There's a lot of amazing businesses running cause marketing for us, meaning
Okay.
like kickback events. So when you shop at XYZ store, they're donating 20% of proceeds back to CCRF. There's a lot
Oh,
of amazing partners out there
okay.
offering those sort of kickback campaigns for CCRF. So
Okay.
no matter what you're interested in, I'm sure there's something that could benefit CCRF. So yeah, like I said, I would follow CCRF on the social medias if you're interested in getting involved.
Okay. Wonderful.
Hmm.
Wonderful. Sarah, you are such a joy. It's always fun to talk with you. So thank
Thanks,
you.
Kitty. Oh, my pleasure. It was fun. I
Yeah.
could talk about CCRF all day long.
Good. Good.
Hmm.
Well, yeah, definitely when it's such a deep passion and how
Yes.
wonderful that that your heart that your job is something that is just so fulfilling and
Oh,
wonderful.
I'm
Thank
so
you
lucky.
for the work that you do and the
Thank
work
you.
that everyone at CCRF does.
My
Um,
pleasure. Thank
and
you.
yeah, thanks for sharing your words with us today.
Yeah, of course. It was really fun. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. All right. Well, and as always, from all of us here at Heroic Productions, thank you for tuning in. You can reach me here. Well, you can reach me on LinkedIn. You can reach me at the email address that's scrolling on your screen right now. Make sure that you have followed Heroic on LinkedIn for more events and news. And we will see you again soon. Bye.